This segment considers a direct response to the idea that humans are rational, comprehensive decision makers by positing a distinctly descriptive analysis of decision making. Specifically, Charles Lindblom starts by asserting that the rational comprehensive model is unrealistic in describing what actually occurs in policymaking. While a theoretically compelling approach by driving research and being economical in limiting variables, it lacks validity in reflecting the real world of policymaking. Lindblom considers the two models of decision making based upon the steps they use and finds very different approaches going on. First, the root model, which is essentially rational comprehensive decision making, follows a multi stage systematic approach. The first step is to list values by importance and rate policy outcomes. This allows for systematic comparison using theories of good policy making, and as a result, the policymaker makes a choice maximizing their values. However, Lindblom states it is impossible to carry out because on many values and objectives there is disagreement which might lead to conflict on each issue when values are listed and rated. Likewise, the intensity of feeling isn't considered, and the social objectives may vary in value by circumstance. Indeed, Lindblom argues that agencies are instructed to not practice this approach because of the potential conflict and slowing down of the process of policymaking. On the other hand, Lindblom argues that what is more likely to occur is incremental decision making, or the branch approach. Descriptively, decision makers ignore interests beyond their current objective and outline the few policy alternatives which combine objectives and values that occur to them. They then make a final selection that combines into their choice the values and instruments previously held. In sum, values and empirical analysis are intertwined, and policymakers and administrators must focus on marginal values. In public policy and administration practice, Lindblom sees that theory can oftentimes not be helpful because theory is greedy for facts and insufficiently precise for the small changes that administrators need to make, especially as they are not involved with the elected officials' decision-making processes. Because the root approach separates means and ends, and the branch approach chooses both simultaneously, what occurs with incrementalism is mutually defined away as good policy just by being made. Good theory is defined differently in the rational comprehensive or root model and the incrementalist, in other words, the branch model. In the root model, one argues for other policies but still must argue on values and objectives. On the other hand, in the branch model, agreement on policy thus becomes the only practicable test. The simplification of comparisons allows policies that differ slightly to be considered, but at the expense of ignoring possible consequences of sticking with a tendency towards specific types of policy over a period of time. This is because, with the past as a guide, small steps are made with quick remedies for missteps, but potentially incrementalism focuses too much on the outputs and too little or not at all on the outcomes. This means that the needs of citizens without a voice in the process ultimately might not be heard.